if you watched my explanation for the last question, number 24, you are well prepared for what I'm going to say here. So first things first, we could look at some of these answer choices, categorize them. We have so, we have and we have the category name, for example. In other words, is not really in one of our categories, but it means exactly what it sounds like. It's just saying the same thing in other words. So all of this we can keep in mind as we now look at the sentences. The Inca of South America used intricately knotted string devices called quipus to record countable information like population data and payments. They may have used quipus to record more complex information like stories and myths, according to researchers. So it's not an example. It's not an example. And that's where some people I think are going to go here. It's not D, because they're saying two different things here, right? They use them for population data and payments, and then also for more complex information. That is not an example. Like, you may think that population data and payments are complicated things, complex things. But the way the sentences are phrased, they're trying to say this is a different thing, right? So they're contrasting almost the idea of the payments and data and population data with whatever this other complex information is, things like stories and myths. So they do give us this other example that helps us understand that they're different. But I do think some people are going to be tempted to pick D. Now, it's also not then B, because if it were in other words, like I said, it wouldn't be a different example. It would be the same thing in other words. They would maybe just describe again like how they recorded the payments or something like that. So that doesn't really work. And it's not a result, because these tying these knots to record payments does not cause them to use the knots to tell stories. Like, that's just a completely different thing. And so through process of elimination, we are picking in addition, because this is an additional thing to know about the knots. So it makes sense. But remember, if you watched my previous lesson, my previous video on the previous question, I said the only reason we're going to pick any of these and transition words is if we've eliminated everything else. They really don't add anything. They are just telling us like, hey, we're going to talk about something different. So talk about something new. And sometimes it's a clear contrast. And that's when we would use a contrast word. In this case, it's not. Like, I don't know. I think you could probably throw a however in the blank if we really wanted to, and it could have been right. Luckily, they did not give us that option. And so this is why, again, the only reason we're ever going to pick these kind of very bland transition words, the ones that mean and, is if we've eliminated everything else. So just always go through process of elimination while you're doing these transition questions, because sometimes the only way to solve them is through process of elimination.